Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome into episode 12 of the Evan Parker Coaches Show, sponsored by Kevin Johnson Media. Today, I am very glad to be joined with Kenny Orlando, the head coach and the general manager of the Ogden Mustangs. He's he's been here for 5 years, and I want to thank you very much for joining me today, my man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So every year that Kenny has been with the Mustangs, they have been a contender. They've been in the playoffs all 5 years. They are just wrapping up a very good season this last year. Him and I were talking, as it's my understanding, they were 37-13-3 in the regular season and 4-4 in the playoffs, and that was after a bunch of injuries and some adversity you guys had to face, and we'll talk about that. But I just want to thank you so much for joining me today. Like I said, this is a chance for you to personalize yourself to your fans and our fans and kind of culminate the relationship between the Raptors and the Mustangs.
Yeah, it's great. I'm happy to be here. Obviously, our working relationship has been awesome between the two groups, and we're just looking forward to kind of bettering that moving forward.
Sure.
It's exciting on both parts.
Yeah, man, it's been great to get to know you more this year. So I'll let Kenny kind of fill in the blanks here, but he is a Philadelphia native. As I said, he's in his 5th year with the Mustangs here. Explain to me a little bit what it's like being the head coach and the general manager.
Yeah, it's interesting. From my perspective, you're wearing a lot of hats. Just as you are, right? You're wearing a lot of hats on a day to day. And depending on where you're at in the season or out of season, your responsibilities kind of change, right?
Sure.
So, on a day-to-day basis, in season, we're worrying about a lot of strategy and tactic and prepping the guys appropriately for our games on the weekend. But, those responsibilities and focuses sort of change once that season comes to a close at a point like right now.
Sure.
Right. And, things change with focuses more on recruiting, rebuilding a group, trying to figure out where we're going to go next year with certain pieces to the puzzle to rebuild this thing and get back to where we were.
Sure.
And end up on the right side of that thing in the finals. It takes a lot. There's so many different parts. But we're in that adjustment period right now where our season just came to a close, starting to get into the spring and summer and trying to figure out who those guys are going to be for next year for us.
Sure. And I mean, obviously you're doing a pretty damn good job, man. I mean, here's what I can say about knowing, high level sports. Your goal is to contend every year. Okay. The only thing harder than winning a championship is repeating. You know what I mean? And I can speak to that after winning it in 23 last year and then, having a target on our back last year.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all you can ask your guys to do is contend, and ultimately some pieces are going to have to fall into place. You're going to have some luck on your side,
Sure.
But I just want to commend you on your job because, 5 years of making the playoffs in a row is nothing. I mean, that's some pretty high level stuff right there. Let's talk about this last season. Okay. So, I mean, as it's my understanding, you guys had a multitude of injuries. Okay. It sounds like your best defenseman went down with a nasty injury. We were checking out the pictures of that before, but let's kind of recap what this playoff run looked like.
Yeah, all season, as far as fighting for the first place spot going in the playoffs to have full home ice advantage throughout the whole playoffs, it was super tight. I think we ended up in January with a two weekend skid that really ended up not cementing us in second, but really making it tough to climb back into that first place position. We were really close, but so we ended up going in the playoffs as the second seed, playing at home against our rivals down the road, the Utah Outliers from West Valley. Every season we usually end up seeing each other, the two of us, in the playoffs, just
Sure.
because they're two high caliber programs.
Sure.
But it was a very heated rivalry. Our team's done very well over the last 2 seasons, coming out of the gate hot in these playoff series. We've played 5 different opponents now in playoff series, and every single time we've won game 1. So I think guys are very well prepared going into the playoffs, very well prepared for what they're going to see and understand what we want out of them each and
Sure.
every series and who we're playing and understanding the opponent and the looks that they're going to have. That started out the series really well, and that was a little bit of a back and forth early on in the series with West Valley. We ended up being able to muster it together in game 3 and then close it out in game 4 in their building. So that put us in the finals, and it was the best 2 teams this year in the finals, which no one can complain about. Getting to see between us and Idaho Falls 2 spectacular goalies playing You know, there's a lot of high caliber hockey players out on that ice.
Sure.
And either one of those teams would have been very strong representative of the Mountain Division going into the finals this week in the NCDC out east. So, you know, that was another series, like, you know, you started to tip at the injuries that we had. We had a lot of key names that not even just in the playoffs, but down the stretch of the season that ended up going down or rosters changing for different reasons. We had, you know, a handful of guys that ended up changing their path before the end of the season and walked away, and we had a good handful of guys that were high-end names on our team that ended up with injuries that took them out for the rest of the year. So going into that final series against Idaho, we were definitely into the depth of our roster. No excuses at all. The guys did everything they could. They left it all on the ice.
Sure.
And I thought they did a really good job battling so much adversity throughout the 8 games that we had in the playoff run there. Just the continuous adversity from game one with losing Heineman all the way through.
He was one of your guys.
He was our horse.
Yeah,
literally, right? Quite figuratively.
He's a stalker, man.
He would stop. I mean, he was our shutdown guy for other teams' top end lines, right? So losing a guy like that, he plays about, you know, just under 30 out of the 60 minutes a night. And you're losing a guy that's playing half the game and shutting down other teams' top lines. So all of a sudden we have to adjust what we're doing. Gives different looks, but it gives other guys opportunity. And I think some of our other guys really stepped up. You know, it was a really good playoff run. And when you get into the series with Idaho Falls, when you're playing these one-shot games, they can go either way.
Right.
And the guys know that. We all know that. And, you know, just it wasn't, you know, a couple of those bounces were not going our direction. Idaho had a great goalie. He shut a lot of opportunity down on the offensive side for us. Came up a little bit short, but from what the group had to battle through, certainly no excuses, but I'm very proud of what they did in those tough moments in the playoffs.
Sure. Two things that I took from that. So, I mean, obviously you get a full roster effort.
Yeah.
You get some experience for some guys that maybe wouldn't have been in that position otherwise,
Yes.
Which is valuable for the future going forward and their development. But the other thing I took away is that every other team knows that at some point they're going to have to deal with Ogden.
Yeah, that's for sure.
That's good. That's, you know what, that's
making a name for ourselves in that sense.
Yeah, no, that's a damn good feeling, man. I mean, this is, you know, the separators of talent and the separators of, you know, a game going this way. I mean, it comes down to a play sometimes. I mean, it can come down to a single pitch in a baseball game, you know, and it's you know, comparable in that sense where it's just like the separators are so minute. And so, you know, the puck's got to go your way, the ball's got to go our way, you know, and it's just like all you can do, like I said, as a head coach, my job is to go out and put my guys in the best position to succeed, as I'm sure you do, and I want to contend. That's all you can ask for. You want to compete every night, you want to go out on a night-to-night basis, and you want to let that other team know, hey, man, we're here, we're not going anywhere, we're not going to roll over, doesn't matter if we go down early. Doesn't matter, we're going to fight back. And I got to just say, you know, every game that I've ever gone out to, even before I got a chance to sit down with you, I just thought, you know, this is a unit of a team, you know, and that starts at the top. And I think you do a great job, man.
Appreciate that. Obviously, that's reciprocated towards you guys as well. We get to bring our team out and appreciate some of your guys' efforts towards the end of your season, right? Our guys are just coming in for training camp when you guys are finishing up basically that last week of your season.
Yep.
Or close to maybe the second to last week, depending on how your schedule shakes out with home games.
Yep.
You know, we always come out and we've been, you know, there last handful of years being able to support and to see the groups you guys are putting together. And it's a really cool thing to have the caliber of sport that we do in this town.
Yep.
And obviously the working relationship between the two programs, I think, is really growing, and it's showing a lot of support from everyone in the community. So
totally.
You know, it's really cool to see.
Totally. So yeah, I've really enjoyed being able to talk with this guy. Him and I are in similar positions where we are not only the head coaches, but at times we're psychologists with these guys. You know, we're managing players, we're managing minds and personalities, and I enjoy what I do because, you know, I got to show up every day, and I like putting that puzzle together every day because it's ever changing, and you know, you can kind of get your thumb on what your personnel is and what your team's strengths and weaknesses are, but you can't predict injuries, you can't predict adversity, you can't, it's going to come your way, and you got to just ultimately bear down and go to work every day and show up and lead your guys. So as I've said, I think you do a very good job doing that. I would very much encourage the people who come out and support us. We have the highest attendance in the league every year. Going out to these games where they play is an absolutely electric atmosphere. I mean, going to hockey is it's my favorite sport to go watch, I would say, just in the sense of going and watching it live. So we've got it as good as anyone could have it in Ogden. Just real quick, I want to just talk about, tell our fans, tell some people who may not know the age of guys and kind of the template of the players that you have, and why you think that level of play is so high and why these guys are so hungry.
Yeah, for sure. So the hunger that I would say that maybe you're seeing as a spectator, it comes from these guys. They're striving for opportunity to sign a contract somewhere, right? Obviously, the next step for most of these players is college hockey. They're looking for that NCAA Division I deal. Between NCAA Division I and NCAA Division III, we place virtually every single 20-year-old player that comes through our group. That being said, a 20-year-old player would be our oldest player. We have guys from 17 years old up to 20.
Right.
This year we only ended up with one local player out of our 26. So, we got 25, 26 guys every single season that are coming from all over the globe. We have, this year was mostly just U.S. and Canada, but in years past we've had, Finland, Sweden, Denmark, Hungary, you name it, we've had it. Slovakia, Russia, we have touches from basically everywhere across the globe. So being able to work with all these different types of players and different types of kids coming from different types of family, it's interesting for us. We've learned a lot over the years. We're definitely more well-rounded now than we ever have been as a program. But we're really dealing with some high-end clientele as far as these 17 to 20-year-old players goes, with their aspirations to play in college hockey, play professional hockey overseas, get a chance to be within the professional hockey ranks in the United States, with the ECHL, the AHL, the NHL. We place players all over the map in that regard as well. So, as a program perspective, it's a lot of fun to get to see these guys. None of their paths are the exact same. They're coming in, and we know what the end goal may be for a lot of them, where they want to go, but the way they get there is different. And being able to help carve those paths, that's what our job is, and we enjoy every second of it. But as spectators and fans and people in the community that support our team, they're seeing a lot more passion and a lot more energy, because these kids are trying to earn a job somewhere.
Yep.
Right. Compared to someone that may already have a job. I'm not saying that there's no passion once you sign a contract, but there's a different layer of urgency to try to get to that point, right?
Absolutely.
To try to be able to lock in somewhere. So that's what you see with these kids, and they're young men, and you can see it. The passion they put on the ice every single night. It starts from the bench and starts with the fans, but these guys, they follow that up with their efforts every night, and it's fun to be a part of within our home rink there.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and that's why I like the level where the Raptors are. My guys are hungry.
Yeah.
I can't deal with guys. The sense of urgency that you referenced, that is a non-negotiable component for every single one of my guys. I don't care, how good you are, what your past is, every single one of my guys wants to play in the big leagues. You know what I mean? And I always tell these guys, look, if you don't have a big league dream, then you need to get the hell out of my clubhouse, because I'm going to hold you to that standard. It's my job to make sure you're doing everything you can do to get to that place, and I can see that in you. And so I think that our fans can resonate with the mindset that their players have. And Kenny, I just want to thank you so much for coming on the show, man. Seriously, thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Got a few announcements I'm going to get into real quick. Hey, so just as far as my announcements go, May 10th at 10 a.m. is going to be our local tryout. Trevor and I talked earlier today. You can go to our official website, and everything will be posted there. I'll make sure that within the next couple of days, all the registration and everything is official. But plan on that, May 10th, 10 a.m. Okay, the other thing that I need to mention as far as having dialogue with the league, our mid-season tryout for the Pioneer League is going to be in Ogden this year. I will have the dates again, last week when we were in Arizona, I was blanking on the dates, and I know it's sometime in June or July. I'll get all this stuff out there before we actually break camp and make sure that everybody knows that follows us on our social media. But as far as our local tryout goes, go to our website, okay? And then next week, I'll have all of the official details for our Fan Fest, which is coming up. We are going to be doing an inter-squad scrimmage against each other. I believe that's the best way to get our guys ready to play this year. We're going to, guys are going to be earning jobs against each other, and I like that. We're going to do a home run derby at the end. Trevor and I will have an itinerary of all the Fan Fest details that I will get into next week. Very good segment this week. I didn't have to talk very much. Kenny did it all for me. So again, my man, thank you so much for joining me. And until next week, love all of you guys. Raptor claws up. Go Raptors.